Good afternoon. I'm happy to be back here. This is episode 7 of Master Strokes. For those of you who've been following this series, we've been interviewing leaders who are responsible for transformation. They've done transformation, using digital technologies, earlier and continue to transform. Today, I'm, pleased to have with me Mr. Rajneesh Khare, CDO, Chief Digital Officer of Union Bank of India, and we also have Shailja Singh, Enterprise Head for IBM India and South Asia. They help organizations go through digital transformation. Mr. Khare, I'll start with you. Thank you for being here. You have a very different, very rich experience, if I may call it, with leading digital transformation, digital journeys for private sector banks. You are now with Union Bank, a public sector bank, and it's again going through a transformation. How is your journey different here, and what is it that you're doing here at Union Bank? What are you finding different? What are the opportunities here, challenges if you want to share? But what's the difference between what you were doing earlier, what you're doing now, and what does your digital journey at Union Bank look like?
It's a very interesting thing. I often get asked, what is the difference which is there from when you move from a private sector organization to a public sector organization. I would simply say it's a great opportunity actually. So far in the last 23 years of my career, I have been growing woods. Now here is an opportunity to actually grow the forest. So that is what actually brings me to my beloved Union Bank of India. In terms of, at the end of the day, people are the same. The three things are extremely important. When it comes to transformation, whether it is a digital transformation, whether it's a technology transformation or a cultural transformation, what often gets missed is the second part, which is transformation. And what transformation actually requires is leadership. So leadership is going to come from three things. You need to know the stuff. You need to be able to articulate and build a picture for people to see and realize that this is very much possible. And the third thing which is there is to be able to communicate. If this is what we can do, then this is how the life would actually become. So if you have these leadership capabilities, you can create the picture, you can speak the words, and you can make sure that people see what happens after the picture is over. That is what I think is the most important thing for anyone to do. In terms of people, I don't hardly find any difference between the private sector or the public sector people. In fact, I find public sector people to be more enterprising for the simple reason they have far more challenges to meet when it comes to delivering a superior experience to the customer. Not only they operate within a lot of constraints, they are heavily regulated, and anything and everything more or less has to go through a particular process so as to be safeguard the interest of our government, our regulator, our stakeholders, our patrons, and even our own internal employees. So the ability to maneuver is very much there. The room to maneuver is actually less in public sector undertakings, and that is the real challenge. And if you can really, if you really look at, how the public sector banks have turned around, in fact, almost all the public sector banks have been re-rated in the last 5 years if we really want to see. Even today, the largest commercial bank continues to be a public sector bank. Even though we may be talking about the private sectors being the stock market darlings or being the poster boys for the banking, what we fail to recognize is that public sector banks have a customer base which is almost impossible to achieve for anyone even in the next 10 years to come. If you look at the size of the top 3 public sector banks, it will dwarf the size of the top 3 private sector banks. So the customer base is enormous. And if the customer base is enormous, the expectations of the customers are also enormous. At one point of time, and if you really look at it, in the changing world where anybody and everybody is aware what is happening, anybody and everywhere is aware what is that they want, and anybody and everybody is in a position to actually demand in this competitive world, to be able to cater to such an enormous base is a challenge for which I really admire the public sector undertakings, because they are the ones who are actually bringing in the meaningful change. I'm not saying that the others are not, but the kind of challenges they face to bring this kind of a change which will actually drive the country forward, that opportunity only exists in the public sector undertakings for the sheer size of scale at which they operate. If you look at it, almost 70% of our business in India is still done through our public sector business only, and they have been around for almost a century. The important thing for public sector banks, I feel, is that they have the potential energy. It's like a dam with a reservoir. The only thing which needs to be done is to open the gates, and it will simply flood anything and everything which comes in its way. That's the potential energy which they have, and that is what I am here to do, convert that potential energy into kinetic energy. For that matter, I look at 4 simple parameters. The first and foremost is people. Anything and everything begins and ends with people only. So the first thing which I have taken upon as a challenge is to change the mindset of the people, that so far we have been doing the business in a certain way. There is another way which is possibly a better way to do it and create far more impact, and that's what today is known as digital. The first thing which I am trying to do is reorient the mindset that one way the success was possible, another way accelerating is even better opportunity. So mindset change is the first thing which I am looking at. Second thing is that people have been very good at the way they have been doing their business traditionally in banking as far as public sector is concerned. Now there is a new way of banking which is emerging, whether the emergence of fintechs or neobanks, or for that matter the changing expectation of customers, because they are becoming a part of an ecosystem which does not only comprise of banking, whether it is e-commerce, whether it is fashion, whether it is retail, whether it's entertainment. There's so many things which are now available. So when banking now actually doesn't come as a product, it now is perceived by customers as a service. So if you have to provide a service, you got to be exceptional. It means you need to have the right set of knowledge, you need to have the right set of skill, and you need to continuously keep improving on those skills. That is the second thing which is extremely important. And the third thing is empowerment. At this point of time in the private sector arena, because there is only money at stake, so the risk taking ability is far higher. At the end of the day, what could be the worst? You will lose money. But here it's not about losing money. In public sector units, it's about losing the trust of the customer. And we have such a massive base of customer. So the responsibility of keeping that is tremendous. That means you need to continuously keep learning, you need to continuously keep changing the way you are working, and you need to get empowered to take certain risks which so far have been confined under the aegis that we are not going to lose the trust. So there is a different kind of a field. There is a risk which is involving money, and there is a field where the risk is about the trust of the consumer, and that is where it is very much important for us to empower our employees so that they come back to that position that not only you have to protect the trust of the customer, you also have to protect the money which they have entrusted with us, and we have to grow it. We are not the custodians of the money. We are going to grow that money for our customers in a much safer way. So if you look at 2008 crisis or 2014 crisis or 2020 crisis, whether it is Europe, whether it is North America, whether it is even South American countries, the only country I can actually see which has come unscathed out of that is India. And in India, the public sector banks never got bothered by what happened in 2008, what happened in 2014, what happened in 2020. What actually disrupted at times, yes, it did disrupt the business, was the money suddenly dried up. So actually the money for people dried up, not as per se for the bank. Right. So the moment the economy started turning around, you are seeing that the others are using a low base effect, we are using a high base effect. Our customers never ever left us. There was no deposit flight, there was no run on any public sector bank. That goes to show that you people trust you. So it's a big challenge for us to keep the trust and ensure that we don't work for growing the money of the customer only. We grow to protect the customer, his family, his kith and kin, and that is what I am here to do. And that will come only if we empower our employees. They should be in a position to take right decision at the right time without having to look back over their shoulders. So this is where the people is what I focus. The second thing which is important to turn around in public sector banks is planning is essential. We have seen, we have Niti Aayog, we had Panchvarshi Yojanas. Similar thing goes for public undertakings. They have to plan far ahead. They have to plan for much longer time. So planning for me is an extremely important thing. So that is what we exactly done. The last 12 to 18 months which we have spent in understanding the requirements of our stakeholders, our patrons. We have created a vision, we have created a strategy, and we have spent close to 12 months in planning out what is going to unfold in next 3 to 5 years. Planning for me is an extremely essential thing. That is what the second thing. The third thing which I can really think of is the technology. At the end of the day, how technology is available for everyone. There are no barriers to technology. What is extremely important is how do you make use of the potential that technology is offering you, and that is for that you need to choose the right kind of a technology, keeping the expectation of the business, the ecosystem, the regulators, and your customers. So for us, the choice of technology is very important. So we have actually chosen the best in the business as far as we are concerned. In our own mind, through a very, very rigorous process, we have chosen IBM, which is a big tech, as our partner in this long journey. And at the end of the day, now that we have chosen, the real challenge will now begin being able to execute that. And I'm very confident the way IBM came to our presentations, the way they put together a unit, the way they put together the solution and explained it to us, that was extremely, extremely appealing for us. And I hope that if we combine the forces within our bank and a big tech like IBM being our partner, I'm very sure that in next 3 to 5 years from now on, you will not be asking this question, what is the difference between having come from private sector to public sector bank. Actually, you will be asking, why are you not going back to private sector?
So, I just love the energy, the passion, and I think more people should join the public sector. You all aren't really a tech company. If I look at it, you all are an organization that's been around for 22 years, something like that, right? More than a century, older than my grandfather, and you all have been actually enabling ecosystems, transforming at the heart of industries, helping them change, transform. What are you all doing globally to help the banking sector, the BFSI sector, through their digital journeys?
So IBM has a very strong presence in the banking sector and the financial services sector as well, offering solutions in various areas. And as banks are transforming, going on their digital transformation journey, what is basically required for them is the scale, automating it at scale, modernizing with ease, securing, and having a look at sustainability, at the same time being able to predict outcomes as well. And those are the pillars around which IBM solution offerings are there, around integration, around automation, around generative AI, security, and sustainability. We have been living, and we've seen a seismic change in the integration in the API banking arena. Right from 2018, 2019, when it was traditional APIs, we have moved to a BaaS, banking as a service environment. The APIs are there, for the PaaS services. Embedded finance APIs are there. Different models in terms of pricing revenue have come around. And IBM has been partnering with a lot of customers to create these unified marketplaces and to create ecosystems with both forward, backward integration. And this is possible because of the entire API lifecycle integration suite that IBM carries, which not only creates APIs, it manages them, it secures them, and more importantly, it socializes them and monetizes them. 8 out of 10 top banks in India use the API integration platform from IBM. I think we are living in exciting times, as we said, living tomorrow, and generative AI is coming up in a big way. So one of the great transformative work that has happened is in one of the mergers of the banks that we've done. And owing to the merger, what's happened is the contact centers and the global processing units, they've come up with tons of speech-to-text data. So once you have all this data, the goal was to create a product aggregation and sentiment analysis, which is going to be used in the near future, immediately for product recommendations, customer care, business recommendations to the customers in terms of portfolio analysis and stuff, and it's much beyond that as well. And we're using generative AI, which is basically deep learning models, and these deep learning models are powered by fundamental models which leverage expansive neural networks, train unstructured, unlabeled data, and produce and generate fine quality and tremendous amount of rich text speech data can be used for various purposes across. And that is what has actually helped us launch Watson X into the marketplace. We have a new offering on the generative AI space, which includes Watson Data, which has the performance and the flexibility of the data warehouse and the data lake, and of course the regenerative models through the Watson Studio X and as well as the governance that surrounds it. So a lot of work in these areas, which is upcoming, is the future in the next 2 years, exciting times, along with the blockchain computing use cases that are there and have been adopted by the regulator in India as well.
I like the way you said in the future for the next 2 years. These days the future is actually 18 to 24 months. I don't think anyone even talks about 3 years, 3 years any longer in technology or actually in any aspect of business. Mr. Khare, I'll come back to you. You are setting a digital bank within the bank, right? What are your focus areas for this new venture? And given the currently very active digitally enabled ecosystem, how is it that the things you're going to be doing are going to be different and ahead of the rest of what's available?
Well, it's very hard to be different when it comes to structured finance, when it comes to BFSI industry. What actually will differentiate is the kind of experience we are able to give to the customer. Customer has already placed his trust in us, and what we are going to respond with kind of experience he desires, which he has become used to. So our focus, if you really look at it, I will call it, we won the World Cup in 2011 and MSD got famous for that. I also look at it, from these three perspectives also, and I try to simplify these things. For me, the marketing aspect of it is basically being able to know the needs, wants, and latent needs of the customer. Second thing which we need to do is that if we know what the customer wants, this becomes the sales part of it. That is where we have to generate, why should you be with me? Why should you be taking my service? Why should we be taking my product? And the third thing is, at the end of the day, when we have known the customer, explain to him why he should choose us, we should be able to create a delight factor after he has consumed my product and service. That I simply call a simple MSD theory, marketing, sales, and delightful experience simplified for that matter. What is our strategy? How are we going to be different? We are focusing on three critical things. The first and fundamental is the digital experience which we want to create, and we do not want to match anybody. We want to create our own trail which people will follow. The second thing which we are looking at, if you may be in a position to give me an experience, but would you be in a position to keep me engaged going forward? So we are focusing on building those products and services which will continuously keep the customer engaged. So it is a cradle to the grave approach from me. From the day you were born, I will identify your need, and from the day you decide to part to another world, I will still be with your family and stand guard for them. The third thing which we are looking at, is the enablement. If we have to give experience, if we have to keep somebody engaged, we need to be able to have a platform which can enable all this. So we have chosen the state-of-the-art microservices-based architecture, which is coming from our technology partner IBM, which will be the unique architecture. It will have 4 things which are going to be built into that. One, we are going to call it human banking. Digital for us will be human banking. You will be able to converse in the digital world with the bank the way you had been so far conversing with your relationship manager, with your branch personnel, or with any of the banking personnel employed. It will simply not only mimic it, maybe in future it will even better the experience which is there. So we are going to build a differentiator which will be conversational AI, which will not be a simple chatbot giving a service and support. It will educate you what are the kind of products, services you actually need. It will also tell you how to consume that. It will also support you once you have consumed your products and services, and through a continuous exchange of information on your preferred channel, we will keep updating you what is changing and what can we bring to you. So conversational AI for us is going to be about customer acquisition, not only about customer service. The second factor which we are building is the seamless experience. By seamless experience we mean that each and every interaction which the customer will undertake with our bank will be a complete seamless journey. So we are building close to 10 plus digital assets, we are building close to 350 plus digital journeys, and we will ensure that the journey is as frictionless as is out there in the space. The third thing which we are going to, which I spoke about, the MSD, the big data and analytics is going to play a key role in this electronic world, in this digital world, where the customer is not in front of you or you are not in front of customer. How would we actually know what the customer wants? But the customer is leaving so much of digital trail out there in the world, in this social media environment. The customer is searching, exploring, evaluating so many things, given that they are search engines, given that they are recommendation platforms, given that there is a network for friends, family, where you are even discussing, how one should live their life, how should one manage their finances, and so on and so forth. Robo advisory is one of the things. In this digital world where so many digital footprints are there, and each and every event is actually somewhere either triggering something or getting recorded, we should have the ability to mine this gold mine, and that is what we are building through our big data and analytics capabilities, which will give you a hyper personalization, which will do the hyper customization, and which will also ensure that hyper localization is also achieved. It means you get served at the doorstep and you don't really have to reach beyond your desk, at best a mouse or a swipe. This is the third thing which we are doing. And the fourth and final thing, if I have to really add to it, service. At the end of the day, even today, the best of the organization, I'm quoting Gartner for that, the best of the organizations have achieved not more than 8% of their sales through digital. And that is that has come from a Gartner study. Even yesterday, 3 days back, I was going through a Gartner presentation, and they spoke that the industry penetration of digital, when it comes to digital marketing and sales, or the digital business, is close to around 20%. This 8 and this 20 is my benchmark. I'm not going to achieve this. I'm going to start from this. To that extent, we have already, we already have our mobile banking channel, for example, which has close to 22 million customers who are highly engaged with it. I have a 150 million customer base, which has been with me for last 104 years. That is an opportunity which I am sitting on. And the third thing, which is there is, most of our customers, unlike what people think, 70% of our customers are coming from urban and semi-urban areas. More than 50% of our customers are actually falling in the age bracket of 30 to 50. So there is a great opportunity for us to be able to give an experience to these guys, keep them engaged, and and all that will be possible through the third layer, which I said, enablement. And finally, at the end of the day, I'm again saying, experience will bring you once, engagement will keep you there. And if I can create a delight factor which will come through the personalization, localization and hyper customization, this is where I will be able to win. So my key differentiator, if I have to sum up, is a human banking in the form of conversational AI, the seamless journeys, which is going to create a frictionless process for you to be able to interact with the bank, our ability to look into the digital footprint which you are creating, and being able to get meaningful insights out of that, so as to give you the contextual advice. That is going to be the third key. And fourth and final key, the relationship is not going anywhere. In this world, we are going to digitize everything, but we are not going to digitize the trust of the customer. Even today, more than 70% of the sales, even in the largest private sector banks, is coming through the physical touch points, not through the digital touch points. But I'm sure that if we take it the right way, if we strike the right balance, we in next 5 years should be able to invert it, and we will say that 30% of our sales will come to physical touch point, whereas the 70% of it will get executed through the digital capabilities and the kind of experience we will build. And for that, I think we have taken enough time. And when we met IBM, when we evaluated their solution, when we met their team, I am actually on a personal level also extremely confident that we have chosen the best partner possible. And I continue telling that to my current partner, which is IBM. We are not into a dating game. We are going to get married for life, and in life, both partners are responsible for making it successful. And I think, given the current environment, given the current capabilities, I think I have found the best life partner.
Thank you.
Huge
Thank you. I've been like wanting to say this. Thank you. Thank you for the confidence that you have in us.
huge expectations and
We live up to it.
huge
Yes,
responsibility.
absolutely.
Especially in a world where marriage is not the most important thing any longer, but you huge wish both of you
Thank you.
lots of luck. I'm now going to ask you a question, okay, for which it's a long question, so I'm going to take some support. So Shailja, as interactions have become more digitized and enterprises strive to personalize employee and customer experiences, it's important that we create a stronger, more productive workforce to be able to deliver such experiences. Moreover, in today's modern distributed systems, several organizations need enhanced visibility into an ever-evolving and complex applications and infrastructure landscape. How do you accomplish these two things? Do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I think your last word about applications and infrastructure says it all. We've talked about customer experiences and stuff, and of course, we're talking about a digitization era. And in this era, for banking, the application is the business and the business is the applications. And given that perspective and the fact that we are going to have complex applications run this business, and it is going to get even more complex with the fact that these applications are on-prem, on the private cloud, on the public cloud, and now with 5G and edge computing, even more so. What is required is basically a comprehensive view of the entire application and the resources underlying this application if we want to have a good performing application suite to that extent to run the business. And that's where IBM acquired a couple of companies which is called as Instana and Turbonomics in the areas of APM, which is application management, performance management, and in the area of application resource management, which is closely kind of tied to each other. While the APM suite gives a full transaction flow and maps it, looks at the microservices which are running slow or poorly running, as well as looks at the queues due to long running DB queries, etc. It helps to pinpoint those code arenas and does optimize and make it efficient. However, that needs to be complemented with an ARM tool. And that's where you actually find that there are silos in most organizations today, most banks today. And you actually need an ARM which is application driven in a top-down approach, and it actually stitches together the CPU, the memory, the compute and the storage resources, gives a full stack visualization. Not only does it help it monitor, but at the same time it continuously looks at each entity, whether it's at the physical layer or the virtual layer, the containers or the VMs to that extent, and see how it tracks and compares with the application. Having a correlation manager in terms of which applications are using what resources, how do I, check it out. And given the fact that, you have different application heads and infra heads and the two of them barely talk to each other, this is extremely, extremely critical. And at the CDO and the CTO level, it needs to be driven from there primarily. And at a place where we are having, managing at a major bank, about 20,000 plus VMs in a dynamic environment, the operations manager not only gets the visibility, he gets to monitor all this stuff. At the same time, he can take insightful decisions on the fly in terms of automation, which plays a key feature, because then he can do the sizing, the provisioning, the deprovisioning all together at the same time without having to rely on manual tasks. So, they marry and they should stay married, just, taking on the cue from Rajneesh.
I'll come to you. Today customer expectations are, they want just not personalized, ultra-personalized services at the click of a button, which means you need to have a 360-degree view of the customer, have the data. How do you then tackle, data privacy and security issues?
Absolutely. I made the statement earlier on also that we are going to digitize everything, but we are not going to digitize the trust of the customer. See, what information which we have is what we want to know, but this is not the information which we are going to tell anyone. So from that perspective, whatever I come to know about my customer, that has to be completely in a private fashion. What we are building, if you really look at it, we are building the state-of-the-art cyber security center of excellence, which will ensure three things: the information which is obtained from the customer in a digital format or otherwise is kept in a vault. It's like a Fort Knox vault. So our data storage policies are, I guess, the best in the industry at this point of time. And with the advent of IBM, like I said, they are bringing in the best practices in terms of data security and privacy as well. The second thing, which is there, when we have stored the data, we are going to use that data. When we are going to use data, we are going to analyze that data, even though it is, targeted at an individual level to be able to give them that kind of a personalized experience. The data is absolutely anonymized. It means it is hashed and kept in an environment which is unbreakable. The third thing which we are doing is that we are following, we are fully compliant with all the data privacy acts are there. We are very much conversant with them, and we are very sure that the kind of data which we have about you is going to be used for your benefit and not in any other way possible. So that is why if you look at it, in the public sector banks at least have taken that approach of keeping that data, most of it at almost 100% of it actually on-prem. So we have a strategy, we are going to follow an on-prem model only for those services which is essential for us to give a seamless experience. We are going to go for a SaaS-based service model that will ensure that only the application, the services are actually exposed and the data continues to be on-prem. So there is no way that such a model will not work and any of the data security will get compromised. As far as privacy is another angle which we are bringing in, which I would like to address separately. In today's environment, if you really look at it, and it's a slightly contentious statement, we have actually given away our life on digital media. It's hardly anything. I mean, at times I also get surprised that people know a lot of things about me which I myself am not aware of. So how is that happening? That is happening because people are actually not understanding that there is a set of information which you need to share and there is a set of information which is private to you. So through our cyber security forums, through our cyber security initiatives and through our customer education initiatives, we are also taking up that responsibility to tell you this data, if I need from you, why is that I need? I am taking an explicit consent from you to take that data with me, and I am making a promise to you that it will only be used for the purpose it is intended to, and that trust I am not going to break. That will take care of that will compromise three clear things for sure. The way we get this data, we are going to get it in an encrypted format only. We are not going to go for open conversations. Second thing, the way we will store this data, we said we will keep it on-prem and we will use the hash algorithm, for example, to keep it stored with us. Third, when we develop a persona of the customer to understand his needs, wants and desires in their life, we are going to do it in an anonymized fashion. So in no way the data security, integrity or privacy is going to get compromised. And for that is why I kept in the beginning also, what is more important and why have we chosen a big tech? And we could have taken risk and gone with a fintech or gone with a lesser known name, but we have taken the company which itself has a reputation to protect. And in a marriage, nobody is going to go anywhere. Any of us falters, the family will fall apart. So the IBM is known for its reputation. It is one of the biggest storage companies. It is one of the biggest consumers of data. It is one of the biggest tech out there in the world. More than me, they have a reputation to protect if they are going to be my partner.
Huge expectations from the wife, Shelja. Okay, let me get your perspective. You work with various partners. Meaningless to even say right now that digital transformation is growing at a huge pace, the acceleration. At the same time, there is an evolving cybersecurity landscape. What's your observation on this? You could hear the expectation, but it's there across the entire ecosystem.
True. So just wanted to quote a few statistics on cyber attacks. Very interesting ones. Not that I knew of till I read it. 2,200 attacks per day, which effectively translates that every minute 39 attacks are happening.
There's an industry, there's a parallel industry that runs there. Yeah.
And there is a $3 trillion loss that happens expected in 2023. Takes 300 days in order to mitigate and contain that attack. But it takes 4 days to have a malware attack. a banking organization generally has 40 plus tools minimum for security. So what's the need of the hour? The need of the hour is to have a comprehensive integrated security platform, given the number of tools which are there in the marketplace, to predict. At the same time, the problem is that we need to protect it, prevent it, detect it, and then respond to these threats, if at all they do occur, right? And that's where, we are talking about an open tool. We are talking about something which is integrated, enterprise scale, with AI infused in, and at the same time, zero trust principles. We've just rechristened and have a new avatar of Curadar, which is the industry flagship product in banking for, in the industry actually, for security, as a security platform. And we have a, super powerful features in that with regards to log insights. It leverages an elastic data lake, which is used to collect data and analyze the data, terabytes of data, to find out, attacks, to find out about the attacks, to find out from various sources which are there that pull in. At the same time, we're talking about alerts triage, the notifications that come in, and that is through the AI risk analysis. So again, a very powerful feature. The threat intelligence, which is automated, having an XDR capability, which provides a single pane of glass. It actually gives you everything with regards to the third-party tools that you have in the organization, and helps make recommended decisions as well. So the decision making is also provided as a part of it, because the data is tremendous. The number of logs, the number of endpoints, the application, the data points are phenomenal to consume, right? And so we will actually, as he said, we will see a lot of investments in the area of data security, data privacy, data governance, and of course, we will look at the log insights, identity access management with the number of channels being there. We will see a lot of investment in these areas, and along with surface attack management. Given that hackers are there, given the fact that we have cyber attacks, there needs to be an outside-in perspective as well in terms of how do you protect the organizational data.
My last question to you, this is more about your style. So, huge vision, which we discussed, we discussed banking, we discussed all of it, was a very huge responsibility on the wife, okay? I think you still remain head of family, okay? And you work with a diverse set of people, within your organization, external partners, and you've also done that with different kind of organizations in the past. So you need to ensure that everyone's firing in the same direction. Very huge, I think that's the largest responsibility. You also spoke about people in the first question itself. How do you ensure that you motivate such a diverse set of people to stay on that path, whether they are directly within your control, or it's like running a coalition party, if I may, kind of. So how do you ensure that all of this is achieved?
When the objective becomes important, all these things actually don't really matter. So the first thing is that we have to articulate a vision. We have to have very clear-cut, crafted strategy, and the most important thing is to be able to communicate that to them. If you make the objective more important than the people and the processes and the benefits involved into that, everything will fall in line. So if I have to look at it, and I said that in the beginning, whenever we talk about transformation, it's always preceded by one term: digital transformation, cultural transformation, technology transformation. The more important word is transformation. And when you talk about transformation, obviously there are 76,000 people there at this point of time. Everybody is equipped with certain skill sets, certain gifts which the God has given them. We cannot be saying that the apple will do the job of mango, or the mango will do the job of a banana. But at the same time, in today's world, you should be able to give all the three flavors, even if you are an apple, for that matter. So for me, if we really talk about this, the transformation is never a top-down approach. It has to be an approach where which comes from the bottom. It's what three things which we do, and we said that in the beginning. We have created a ULA Academy. We are equipping people with the right kind of knowledge and skill. Second thing, we are running change management programs. We are telling people, we are teaching people, we are hand-holding them, and we are explaining to them what change means, how to manage that. Because ultimately a change is coming, whether you like it or you don't like it. The third thing which we are doing is that we have created cross-functional teams. It's not that the digital is doing the work or the technology is doing the work or the business is defining all the expectations or the requirements. It's a cross-functional team which has been formulated and envisaged in the bank, and therefore the different and divergent views are all automatically accommodated and actually resulting in a much better output than otherwise if a specialist would have done the job. So, coming back to my leadership style, I will say I try to ensure only three things. One, I should be able to communicate. Communication is the most powerful medium. If you can make the other person understand what is that you want, half the job is already done. The second thing is going to come from collaboration. I am an extrovert by nature and I believe in collaboration. It means I take along my business, I take along my IT, I take along my digital, I take along my support functions, all strategic functions. They all have to collaborate. So the approach in our case is not a top down or a bottoms up alone. It's a collaborative approach which I prefer, and that hence the need for us to get together, to analyze, to accommodate the point of views and come out with the best thing possible. So collaboration for me is the third thing which is important. And finally, all amount of telling people what is required, how to do it, why to do it, all will come to a naught at the end of the day if the commitment is not there. So my third C which I focus on is a commitment, and any kind of commitment which is taken from people is not going to work. The most important and the most powerful form of commitment is self-commitment, the voluntary commitment. So when we envisaged this digital journey, we went to our people, we asked them who wants to be part of this journey, and we gave those people a chance to choose the functions they want to. So that is why there is a voluntary commitment which is coming from them, and if you commit to something voluntarily, you are going to give your best. If I make a commitment to my nation, I will do this for you. If I make a commitment to file, I will do this for you. But that is a commitment they have taken from me. I am not the one who has given the commitment. It is the commitment which you have automatically taken based on our history, our culture, our requirements. But if I go out and decide and say, today I am going to help somebody, it's just I woke up one day and I decided, okay, today is for 1 hour, I am going to do something which will bring a smile on somebody's face. That's a commitment which has come from me. And I will quote a very simple thing, and I will quote my wife on that, and we keep fighting on that. She keeps telling me what to do, what not to do. A wife is the best mirror you can actually have, and 95% of the time she is right. The only 5% of the time which she is not right is, she's telling me that you should do this. She's not understanding, I will only do this if I want to do it. And that, the day I decide that I'm going to do it is the day when I do not need anything else. So that motivation, that commitment has to come from within. So I will sum it up into three simple C's: communication, collaboration, and taking a voluntary commitment from people and taking them along is what I believe is the leadership style. Three important things in the last which have to be considered. You need to recognize people for what they are doing. You need to reward people for what they have contributed. And if you really have to retain, which is the third, if you really have to retain them, you have to become a friend to them. You have to become a family to them, and you have to extend that family into a fraternity. So these are the 3 F's I decide. I tell my team first day, let's be friends. Let's create a family and let's expand this family to make it a fraternity. So these 3 C's and these 3 F's, if you really want to call it a leadership style, I think it's the nature.
Brilliant. My wife's not into technology, but I'm certainly going to get her to watch this part of the
Absolutely.
95%, 5%. Okay, because I keep saying it doesn't go through, but when she sees someone else saying it, hopefully my life will become simpler. So those are benefits of being in this job. Let's come to you, Shailja. Last question. What's your leadership mantra? Okay, what do you think kind of works, and what kind of leadership mantra, what kind of leadership qualities will work to inculcate sense of and a culture of innovation? Okay,
so first, Hoshi, I take opposition to the fact that you made it a patriarchal society and called me wife. So I will take offense to that. Okay. Second, I just wanted to shake hands with Rajneesh because my leadership tenets are almost the same as yours. Okay, you coined it the 3 C's. I'm going to coin it the 4 C's.
Okay.
Okay, and the 2 C's are the same. Okay, my first C was the same thing, which is communicate. Communicate with a sense of purpose. The fact, the expectations, the SMART goals, which are basically, you know, specific, timely, achievable, realistic. These are very, very essential. And these need to be understood, as you said. Once that part of the communication is clear, you actually have a high performance culture in the organization. The second is collaborate. Okay, collaborate to innovate. Collaborate to ensure that you think out of the box. Collaborate to solve problems. Collaborate to find alternate solutions. And collaborate to look at the art of the possibilities.
Fantastic. Art of possibilities, I will remember it.
The third C is connect. Again, very similar to what you said. Connect with the people and connect with them with honesty, with the transparency. You talked about a fraternity, talking about recognizing them, talking about giving performance due merits when it's required, being that extended family to reach out in times of need. So be available for them. Be connected with them, whether it's customers or whether it's your team. And be genuine in that effort. And the fourth C is celebrate. Celebrate the small victories, celebrate the big victories, celebrate with your team. Because that's a force multiplier. You get along together. So just summarizing, so you know, think ahead, okay, think growth, and there's a think well-being I just added in the last few days because I've seen my lifestyle. So I said that focus, you know, that little focus on the health, that little focus on the sleep, that little focus on exercise and that sunshine is extremely essential to take the day head on with positivity and zeal. So that's something as my leadership mantra and almost the same as his.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
One thing, you know, if you permit me, I
Sure.
would like to say is that, you know, 3 things, you know, which are there, which is a unique things which I have seen in the family which I am part of right now. My leadership, the top leadership, extremely decisive. I mean, you get a yes or no in a flash. It's not that they're not thinking, they've thought of it. So they're extremely decisive. Second thing is an extremely open environment. You can walk in and meet anybody, can discuss anybody, and anybody is everybody, including the top leadership, is always available for a cup of tea. God knows how they work and find that time, but every time I have been there, I have always had a cup of tea. So they are extremely open. And the third thing, you know, which differentiate, and which I would, you know, again repeat the first question, which is why did I come? I think I have come from an organization to a family. This is what my bank is, and that is why it becomes very pertinent on me to reciprocate in the same manner. And with the help of my top leadership, my peers, my team, you know, we are going to make it possible. And I would like to say one last thing: we would not follow the path which has been created by others. We will create a path of our own and leave our digital footprint in the sands of the time.
Wonderful. I just wanted to summarize, and you know, you actually helped add to the summary. You know, there's always been a perception, public sector, private sector, but if you look at it, there are several public sector organizations in the Fortune 500 list. Okay, Indian public sector organizations. And it's so heartening to see that the public sector, you know, perception might be very different. You know, the progressive thinking, the openness, you know, I think the family thing works, you know, very well as compared to what we are seeing across the globe. Now we are seeing some Indian companies beginning to, you know, show signs of, you know, some headwinds. But very pleased to see how the public sector bank is thinking. You all had the advantage of the larger base, but like you said, your job is not to be the guardian of the money, but to grow the money. That's again extremely progressive thinking. Wish you all lots of luck, and it'll actually be good for the nation if more public sector organizations do well. Shailja, I'm sorry that I was patriarchal. I totally forgot about same gender marriages. Okay, but good to see you all playing a great role in, collaborating with companies. So you all also have like I said, you all aren't a technology company. I hope IBM doesn't dislike that statement, but you all are a company that has helped transformation across industries, across the globe. Thank you. It was wonderful interacting. And I just want to say something. This is the first time we are meeting in person, but we should do more interviews with you because I love your analogies. This interview is going to get a lot more views than the rest because of your style and your analogies and quotes. So thank you.
Absolutely.
And I'll come back to you for more.
Thank you for a wonderful interaction. And I will just only say, there are people who are nice and there are people who are nicer, and you are one of them.
Thank you.